One of my most commonly asked questions is, Julio, how do I get started on a budget? Now, I have found 3 different price brackets for you to get started on your photography journey. $2,000, under $1,000 is $100. Now, I have affiliate links down below in the description with all the pieces of equipment that I talk about today. It helps support the channel, so I do appreciate it. Now, to be honest with you, I disagree on the advice that your mobile phone is a great camera to use getting started into photography. Now, don't get me wrong. Technology on mobile phones are superb and it can replicate the same level of quality that a normal mirrorless camera can give you. But I have a reason as to why I don't think that a mobile phone should be used when you're getting started into photography, and I'll talk about that a little bit later in this video. Now, I should preface that camera gear has gotten more expensive over the years. When I first started 6 years ago, I bought an entry-level DSLR camera and I was able to get my setup under $1,000. Nowadays, mirrorless is really the new technology that is coming out. Now, for me, what I would buy for myself, that would be the Sony a6400. Now, I'm not gonna get into too much details about the specs. There's 1,000 videos online where you can go look at that. This is more of a guide of where should I start looking. Now, the Sony a6400, for the specs that you need to know, it's got 24 megapixels, which is more than enough. You can print to this size and have perfect quality. In fact, that was shot on the Nikon Z6 that has 24 megapixels. And it also shoots 4K video, which, to be honest with you, is industry standard now with all the cameras that I want to be talking about today. So if you want to get into video or if you want to get into photography, you've got it covered basically. You've got the quality there. Now, it is an APS-C camera, so it is targeted for beginners. It's got a crop factor. That's what beginner cameras have, and it's a 1.5x crop. The only thing to note for a crop sensor camera, when you put a full frame lens on there, it has a 1.5x zoom. When you put that same lens on a full frame camera, then you get the native focal length that is there. Now, the lenses that I would recommend for this setup, to be honest with you, I don't like the kit lens. I think it's good value just to get started, but to be honest with you, you'll be really disappointed by the quality of the kit lens. And even though it's versatile, usually it's like a 16 to 50, I don't believe that it would really provide you with as much value and quality that you would expect from a $2,000 camera. Think of camera bodies as a car. A car has mileage. There are a certain amount of kilometers that it can go until it starts to break down. Now, cameras are incredibly robust, but there is a mileage to it. It's called a shutter count. Basically, how many times the shutter has clicked down. However, with that mindset, usually it's better to buy the camera body new and then the lens used. So what I would recommend is a prime lens to get you started. Prime lenses, like I discussed in a previous video as well, are a lot sharper. They challenge you a little bit more so that you can move around and think of composition a lot more. It is really good in low light. So if you find yourself in a dim room or if you're shooting at night, then prime lenses will be a lot better and more versatile than a zoom lens. So that's why I would recommend that. I started off with a zoom, which was an 18 to 300mm. It covered the entire spectrum, but the quality was so bad, to be honest with you. I ended up buying a very cheap $100 35mm, and it was just game changing. It was the only lens that I ever used. So I would recommend the 35mm 1.8 or the 50mm 1.8. Now, those two focal lengths are perfect. The Sony body is about $1,200. Now, the two prime lenses new will be around $300 to $500 respectively. However, if you go onto Facebook Marketplace and find someone who's selling it used, usually you can get a really good discount, and that is so much more worth the value that you will be getting out of the lens and the camera body. Now, I'll give an honorable mention as well. If you want that versatility and some of that zoom as well, I would recommend the 55 to 210, but when you do upgrade to full frame, you'll realize that it won't work as well. Plus, also the quality is not going to be as good as a prime. Gear doesn't necessarily matter. It does when you're at the professional level. However, in your journey right now, you need to be learning composition, you need to be learning lighting and what the different settings do and how they interact with the photo. So the two lenses that I would recommend is either the Sony ZV-E10 or the Canon R100. Now, talking about the Sony EV10, it's got 24 megapixels and it does 4K video. Now this camera, I should mention, it is geared towards vlogging. It has as much quality as you need. It's got really good autofocus, in-body stabilization. If you do YouTube as well, or if you want to get into video, because let's be honest, Instagram is no longer a photo sharing app, and you can buy it retail for about $800 to $900. If you get the kit lens, I think it's closer to $1,000. However, I would go back with my earlier recommendation and get the body only and then a used prime lens or a used zoom lens and put it on that camera body. Same with the Canon R100. It has more of a DSLR kind of look and feel, but it is mirrorless. It shoots 4K video. It's gonna do the job basically. Now, like I said before earlier in this video, the mobile phone I wouldn't recommend as a camera. Think about it this way. When you're going out on a hike, for example, or you're going out into the city, when you go out to that location, you're bringing your phone, but the primary purpose of the phone is to contact people or to get directions. The camera part is the third or the fourth option. Now, even if you are going to a location with the mobile phone as your primary camera to use, I still think it's just more of a mentality to have a specific piece of equipment that you can put into your bag or into your car because it's serving that particular purpose. It invests you a little bit more emotionally and mentally. I would go out into the city with a camera and I will be looking for photos and I would have a tool that would take that photo specifically. Plus also you've got interchangeable lenses so you can get different looks and feels every single time. It's like going for a run with either sandals or gym shoes that you spent hundreds of dollars on. You would pick the gym shoes because it serves that purpose. Now for my final recommendation for under $100, you might be thinking I'm just crazy to even consider a camera that cheap. But let me explain. Like I said earlier in this video, at this stage of your journey taking photos, if you don't have $1,000 to buy a piece of equipment, and that's fair enough. If you want to exercise the skills of taking a photo, if you want to creatively express yourself, then go old school. You remember those Kodak disposable cameras? You can pick those up for 50 bucks at any store. It's also film, so the creative look out of that will also be quite exciting for you to try. You might be watching my videos and you might be inspired to go out to buy $1,000 worth of camera equipment. Well, start small. Get $50, get a disposable camera, and just start. Just go out, force yourself to a location and take photos of what's around you. And if you find that you start to love it, then you'll start to convince yourself a little bit more, being like, maybe I should buy a camera. Talk to me down in the comments to let me know which cameras that you might be looking into, and I can give you some tips as well. Let's open up the discussion to see, and let me know if you end up buying one of these cameras.